In part one of this video, we're going to talk about how to control the splits on your surfaces when creating solids. This is going to be very helpful when we get into texturing later on in our videos here, and also with extracting curves and UV wraps and unwraps and things like that. So let's just take a look. Just talk about some strategies here. This center ring here, my white ring, I'm using just a normal everyday symmetrical curve to draw the profile. If I take a look at the surfaces, I'll just use my copy faces tool to show the surfaces. We'll see how the ring is split here. We have a split at the top here where my start point was on my sweeping wizard, and one across the opposite end. We also have a split based on the profile. This is a symmetrical curve, so I started drawing it here in the corner, and so that split is going to be in the corner of the profile on the ring as well. And then of course we have the opposite corner split. Okay, so the first thing we can do, there is a way to remove that extra split, the where it's cutting my surfaces all in half. So I'm going to cancel out of that tool real quick. I'll just double click back into my sweeping wizard. And the option I'm looking for in all of your sweeping tools, your curve sweeping, sweeping wizard, lofting, any of those sweeping type tools are going to have this option here. It's called create one single surface. Older versions has a slightly different name, but the icon's the same idea. We just check that when we create our sweep. And now if I take a look at my surfaces, we have one single surface throughout the entire sweep. The only split I have is at the start of the ring and at the start of the profile, the cross section here in the corner. Okay. So one way we can control where that split is by moving the start point around. Cancel out of there too. We can do that on the profile here in the sketch mode. If I go into this curve and just using the move start point tool. Now if I do that on a symmetrical curve, it's going to automatically convert this to a normal NURBS curve. I'll lose my symmetry. So another way we can do that without breaking my symmetry in case I want to reshape this later is back in the solid mode. I'm going to select that curve and modify it. Open this up a little bit more. Modify curves. It's in the curve section of the solids. So what that's going to allow me to do is do a bunch of different modifications, but the one I'm looking for here is in the reverse direction tab. There's a change origin option. Okay, so that'll show the origin and the direction. I can change the direction, of course, or I can move my start point. So let's place it over there on the side for now. Okay, now when you modify a curve, it's not modifying my sketch. I've just created a new curve, so it won't be included in the sweep I already did. If I want to use this curve now in this sweep, I'll just double click back into that sweep and we'll swap out that section. Right here I was using curve number 3. Let's change that to the modify curve and validate and resweep this. Okay, so if I take a look at my faces now, we'll see my start point is now moved on the surface as well. It's over to the side. So once I've added that modify curve, it's really simple to change if I want to change that starting point. Let's get rid of that copy face. I didn't mean to validate that. Go back into my modify curve, move the starting point. Now that it's part of my sweep, I can move it and simply update my ring. And now I can see my split moved wherever I moved the starting point. So a great way to control where your starting points are, your initial split of these surfaces. Okay, let's cancel that out again. I'm going to hide this ring for now. We'll talk about the other two rings I have set up, the yellow one and the pink one. With the yellow one, if I take a look here, I'm going to zoom on that for you. We'll do a copy faces. You see I have this one split with a nice even surface for the top of the ring and then one on the inside of the ring. I also have single surfaces, so I don't have the split across the side. So the way I set this up is in the profile itself, the way I draw it. So let me go ahead and cancel out of that and we'll take a look at this curve. Okay. So it looks like a normal everyday section, but the key is how I draw that section. So let me show you that. If I use my symmetrical vertical curve instead of using close curve, I'm going to uncheck that. And what I do is just draw the portion of the ring that I want to be a surface. That'll be the surface that I can select later on. And then we'll finish off the curve with a separate symmetrical curve. Again, unchecking close, and we'll just finish drawing my shape. Okay. Then we just auto connect it together. So what I've done is basically by creating two separate curves and joining them, you're going to have a split, a sharp point right where those connections were. So that's what causes that nice surface split on your ring. Okay. The other example I have is sharp points again. This one has, let's go back to solids, zoom on this one, and we have nice splits where all the corners are across the top here, and then I have a single surface on the inside. So the idea is exactly the same. I'll show you how I drew that curve. So for this one, symmetrical curve, open, and I'm just going to hold control the whole time I draw my top section. So starting over on the side, hold control, and click 3 points there to kind of create that nice sharp geometrical shape. And then of course I use another curve to finish it off. Okay, of course join it together, and that's how I created this with the nice sharp points, which is also going to control where my surface is split. So hopefully that enlightens you a bit on how to control some surfaces. It's all based on how your profiles are drawn. Don't forget about that single surface option in your sweeping tools, and you'll have a little more success with what areas you can texture, wrap, extract curves from. We'll see you back in part 2 of the video where we'll start setting up our ring for texturing.